Welcome to Intuitive Insights. Today we're going to be talking about Mercury Retrograde, which is a topic that, tends to, not always get that reaction, but that's the reaction that we can have when we understand Mercury a little better instead of being afraid of it. And what happens when it goes into retrograde, we can just be like, yes, It's that opportunity to get to know ourselves a little more deeply.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of kind of what I want to touch on. We want to touch on a little bit before we pull some cards is just what is Mercury? What does Mercury represent? And what does it mean when Mercury goes into retrograde, and why is that such a scary thing for so many people? Mercury has sort of a bad rap when it comes to going retrograde, and there's some reasons for that, mostly being the fact that Mercury represents the mind. So it's our mental energy. It's how we organize our thoughts, how we learn, how we sort of put together and assimilate information. It's our perception. And then it's the way that we communicate that perception to other people. And so it can be a little bit of a scary thing when that kind of gets flipped upside down, because all of a sudden we're looking at things and we're then communicating in a way that doesn't feel quite as natural. The way that I've recently learned to understand Mercury is, we're talking about that mind energy. So our Mercury functions the same way our mind does. It has two different levels, the conscious and the subconscious. And the cycles of Mercury are those subconscious and those conscious cycles. So when Mercury is what we would call direct, we're functioning from that conscious level. And so it's all about, we're categorizing information, we're understanding it, we're communicating it in a certain fashion. It's that forward-moving, very conscious, very masculine type of a thought energy, a logic energy going on. And then when Mercury goes into retrograde, we're taking a step back into the subconscious mind. So it's that intuitive, feminine kind of energy and way of looking at and perceiving the world, which is a beautiful thing, and it's a very important thing. If we operated from the logical, conscious mind all the time, we would exhaust ourselves. That's why for humans, when we talk about the human brain, like we have to sleep every night. We have to have that dip back into our subconscious, where sort of all the information that we've collected throughout the day has time to kind of simmer and assimilate in the subconscious. And then we wake up the next day fresh and ready to go throughout another day. And so that's sort of what the cycles of Mercury are. We go through the direct phase, and then we go into the retrograde phase, and it gives us time to sort of digest and assimilate all of that information. It gives us time to sort of just assimilate the information, look at things from a fresh perspective, from a different angle. It's also a time where whatever may be lurking in our subconscious that we haven't maybe either purposely haven't addressed or looked at, or have pushed down so far that we don't even realize it exists, comes back up again. And that's a very important process. I think right now this is going to be huge for us, because we have, after all of this fresh Aquarius energy, all of these, the 2-2 portal, all the stuff that this intense energy that we've been experiencing, we have this vision for where we want our lives to go. We're feeling very motivated. We're feeling really ready to, get into 2020 and make some shit happen. And now we're being given that chance to kind of slow down a little bit, and anything that's been subconsciously blocking us, any fears, anything that might stand in the way of us realizing those goals is going to come to the surface so that we can examine it and, work through it. And this process, it doesn't have to be scary and painful. We were actually talking beforehand, and we were saying how people who have a really difficult time with Mercury retrograde often are people who have a lot going on in the subconscious mind that they're not looking at.
Yeah, just not expressing in general. Like when we get those thoughts that keep coming up and it's like, no, I won't say that, or no, I don't want to do that, or keep like pushing it down and down. When Mercury's in retrograde, it just starts coming out. And then it's like those moments where like, oh my God, I can't believe I just said that. Or
yeah, that's the communication piece. It gets a little wonky because all of a sudden, you know, we're trying to communicate from a different part of our brain that we're not used to using. You know, the subconscious and that intuitive frame of mind isn't a place that most of us are used to communicating from. Well, I mean, I guess that would depend on your Mercury placement in your chart.
That's true.
If you had a Mercury that was naturally placed somewhere like Pisces, for example,
yeah,
then that may be a way that you're typically, but a lot of us, it's kind of switching around our communication style, and it's a time where you really want to try to think before you speak.
Yeah. It's like our new thing now.
Yeah. So I do want to say that one thing that's really cool about this Mercury retrograde, and actually all of the retrogrades that we're going to be having in 2020, is that we're starting out in a water sign. We're starting out in Pisces. So it's that super deeply, I mean, Mercury retrograde, because we're stepping into the subconscious mind, is already a very intuitive energy. But when it's in Pisces, it's like that really deep intuition. And so we're starting out in that energy, and then we're moving. Mercury is going to be, it starts in Pisces, and then it moves retrograde into the later stages of Aquarius. And then when it completes its retrograde, which it will do on the 9th or 10th, depending on where you are in the world, it's going to trace back over that period that it went retrograde across and go back through the degrees of Pisces. And so this is really interesting because we're talking about water and air signs. So we're talking about logic and intuition. So it's almost like a retrograde within a retrograde.
Yeah.
And this is actually going to happen. We have this retrograde, we have one this summer, which is going to be in Cancer, which is a water sign. And then the final Mercury retrograde of the year is going to be from Scorpio into Libra. So water into air again. And this actually, we had a lot of water retrogrades last year as well, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, so it's this, we're really sort of being shifted back between the subconscious and the conscious, our intuition and our logic, the masculine and the feminine ways of perceiving the world and communicating. And it feels almost like we're being taught how to flow more naturally between those two states. You know, because ideally we are able to bridge that intuition and that logic, like bridge the distance between those so that we're operating in a place where we're making decisions and we're perceiving and categorizing information with a blend of our logic and our intuition functioning at the same time. And that's one of these things that I feel like this retrograde is really helping us to learn how to do. It's another way that which seems to be, as far as I've noticed, I think you'll probably agree, a theme coming up for 2020 is that integration and that balancing of the masculine and feminine energies. And we're balancing that in all aspects of our being. It's really interesting. We're not going to get into all of this right now, but every planet is going retrograde for a period of 2020. And not all planets go retrograde every year. Mercury goes a lot because it's, it has to. It's that shifting of the conscious and the subconscious. Like our mind needs that in order to function. But a lot of the other planets don't necessarily do that.
It goes retrograde every couple years or like some of them.
Right, some of the planets, yeah. And so we have every single planet. And then I believe Chiron is also going retrograde. One thing we found interesting when we were looking online is Black Moon Lilith is the only major celestial body, I believe, which is not going retrograde during 2020. So she's just, moving forward. It's really, I think, that empowering, we were talking about the empowering energy of the divine feminine, reclaiming that power. And so while the other planets have this retrograde cycle, right, and a lot of basically planets in retrograde, it's all modeled sort of after the Mercury, like how that works. So it's either our conscious or the subconscious. It's the different aspects of each of the planets. We're sort of taken back, and it's more of an internal process when they go retrograde. So each planet in its own way is kind of balancing that masculine and feminine essence. It's those different sides. Like,
it's really, like uprooting, then rerouting, uprooting, then rerouting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an intense year of really getting to know ourselves. And this retrograde is going to be intense like that. It's, it's in the signs of Pisces and Aquarius. So Pisces and Aquarius are the final 2 signs of the zodiac. So those are those final steps toward, at the beginning we have Aries, where we're this individual, we come to know ourselves. We're like this spark in the world, and it's all about forging our own identity and our own sense of self. And we have that process as we move through the zodiac until we end up at Pisces, where we end up in the oneness consciousness, in that whole, we're the individual, and then we meld back into the one.
Yeah.
And so Aquarius and Pisces are the final 2 steps of that. And Aquarius is very much understands like the greater consciousness and sort of the connectedness of everything, but it's also very much about claiming our own energy and our individuality. And that's a really important first step before we get into Pisces, because otherwise, if we didn't have that strong sense of who we are as this individual expression of source, we would get completely swallowed up in that oneness energy. So we come into that place of really knowing and appreciating our individuality and what we add to, I always go with this, the tapestry.
I know.
And then we meld back in with the one. And so we're going through some of our mental energy, and our focus is going to be in those areas. And it's going to really depend for everyone. Like, if you have your natal chart, you'll be able to see what the houses and the areas of your chart where Aquarius and Pisces are where this energy is going to be the most intense for everyone personally. But on a collective level, like, those are the energies that we're moving in and out of. And so it's pretty cool. It's that whole, we're all awakening to that connectedness, and that fact that we are all one, and we're learning who we are. So it's sort of like we're in that oneness consciousness of Pisces, in that mental, intuitive space. And then we go back through into Aquarius, where we are reminded of, our beautiful, unique energy and the spark that we add to the world. And then we move back into Pisces again, and we're learning how we can blend that and where we find our place within that collective consciousness, within this whole humanity. Like, where do I fit into that puzzle, and what do I add to that, and how do I help humanity to move forward? Because that's what we're all here to do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Wow. I love the idea of the integration too, with the feminine and masculine, with the logic and the intuition, with the Aquarius and Pisces energy. And also, I love how you were talking about how people will find their place too. Because that makes perfect sense with the 2020 and like the clear vision and all the visions that are going to be coming through, and like the way that that could be coming through, and receiving that could be through receiving visions in regards to that during this time. Yeah. The communication that's coming through.
Yep. Visions, absolutely. We're in that, because Pisces is the deepest, most intuitive energy. Yeah. And that's where the mind space is at, and we're already in that subconscious energy, like serious
it's
intuition.
Like finding like what we are remembering, what's been hidden, or all of those treasures buried deep in our subconscious. And we've got Neptune in Pisces still. Neptune's a slow mover, so she's going to be there for a long time. I love
or he. I don't know why I always think she, even though Neptune, the god that Neptune is named after, is a male figure, but I don't know. But either way, regardless, gender is an illusion anyway. Mercury will, I'm imagining, I haven't looked this up, so this is just me kind of spitballing here, but it's very likely, I think, that Mercury is going to be conjunct Neptune and Pisces at some point point during its transit.
That makes sense.
But regardless of whether it ends up being or not, that energy is still very pervasive. So that just adds to this atmosphere of, you know, really deepening our intuition, our psychic visions. This is a great time to work on deepening and developing the psychic gifts. Is that something that calls to you?
Yeah, that could, I'm really glad that you brought that up, because that would make sense with all these energies, that's what's going to be coming through.
Oh, yeah.
So it's good to know why those things are happening in regards to when the psychic abilities are awakening and all that. So
yeah, I mean, I think, did we talk about that? We just did a video on the ascension process as well that's going to be coming out, and I'm not sure if we talked about that or not, how that is something, just as we go through the process, our psychic gifts do start.
We didn't.
No, we didn't. Yeah, so that's perfect. That is something that happens, and it's really interesting how you can see the planetary energies and the way that the planets interact and the energies created by their interaction is sort of a guiding force and one of the factors that influences the ascension process and how we're experiencing it. So it's really cool to be able to relate the two and kind of see how the planets are kind of opening up the space for those energies and these different phases of our awakening process.
Yeah, it's really amazing to look at as a whole and how everything just works together for us, you know, and then like removing things around and removing things and adding them in, and the universe is just always supporting us in all these really weird ways. So
yes. It is absolutely doing that. We are so supported, and it's so beautiful to see that. And it's just, sometimes it doesn't, like, we're supported in doing what needs to be done to get to the next level of our evolution. Yeah. And so that doesn't always feel like support sometimes if we're in that sort of victim mentality of feeling like things are happening to us and wanting things to just move smoothly. Right. But in the grander picture, we're absolutely being supported. Yeah,
there's always a higher purpose in why things are happening, and it's interesting how, like, the human self will have these reactions, and then it's like, okay, this is happening for a reason. Why is this happening? Okay, this is what I'm learning. Thank you.
What's the gift? What is the gift?
Thank you for showing me. Yes. You know what? You know, it is really nice to be able to shift it and look at it like that. So. I was thinking about, we could pull some cards. Yeah. And see.
Let's do it.
We could do, I want to do it in segments. So, like, what are the blocks, or what's coming up? Could do what's coming up for people.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, so Source, what is going to be coming up for the people in Mercury Retrograde? Retrograde. Perfect. How fitting.
Yeah, communication speech. That's actually perfect.
I gotta channel it. Yeah, so what's going to be coming up for the people that are watching this video?
Oh.
I know. So we got the Two of Cups. So definitely healing within relationships, which is really interesting. Relationship dynamics are going to be coming through. There could be, so funny because we talked about this already, but like before we did this video, we always go over some of the energies, and it's like when like ex-partners or something like message
people
you,
come back around
during Mercury retrograde, and it's like those old dynamics are coming up because they've been in your subconscious, and now it's like the tests kind of like, have you released it really? You know, and that sort of thing.
We're going to be getting opportunities to find that out. You know, it's nothing that comes up during a Mercury retrograde is just manufactured out of thin air. It all comes from somewhere. Yeah. So it means whatever is surfacing for you has been there in the subconscious. Oh, yeah. And then we got the Three of Cups.
Yeah. So it looks like a lot of I'm seeing, like, groups of women and groups of men, like, really, like, uniting and celebrating and that sort of thing. And I'm seeing, like, soul groups and soul families, which came out before. Yep. But celebrating those changes and really, like, embracing that. So I'm feeling like this Mercury retrograde is going to be more, like, optimistic for a lot of people that are going to be watching this. It's going to be more, like, the awareness is going to be there when those things come up and rather than wondering why, like in the past, this time it's going to be like, I know why that's coming up.
Yes.
Now I know what to do with it.
Yes. See, that's the cool thing is when we do the work, we kind of know, and we're kind of waiting, and it's almost like we're interested to see, okay, so how much work have I really done? What's going to start bothering me now? What's going to be on my mind? Oh, the sun.
Yeah. So, we good. Definitely. Like, this is what's coming in. So it's like, it's like the awareness around certain emotional patterns and dynamics is going to be coming up. But also, this is the union of the feminine and the masculine, like we talked about, because in this card, it's like the DNA activation right here, too. The DNA spiraling and uniting the feminine and masculine and marrying them. And then celebrating that. And this is the most positive card in the deck. So it's like, this is like illumination from the divine. It's like embracing that child, like really like celebrating that energy. Yeah. So that's amazing. Awesome.
Yeah, it's, a huge energy of integration. Yeah. That's what I feel more than anything else. It's that's integration of self. And that is like a huge cause to be celebrated. Yeah. And as we integrate that energy of self, we start pulling in our soul family, and we start pulling in that resonates and vibrates with the frequency that we're at now.
Yeah. So we got so we got the Fool, which is all about new beginnings. Yes. Which is, what we've been talking about too. And it's like also new beginnings in relationships as well. Like this is happening energetically. Like the new dynamics are starting to come into play because the ones that aren't serving us are being released, which is beautiful. And then having blind faith in that too. Like the Fool is very like, la-di-da-di-da, I'm just gonna go on my journey, and I don't see that there's a cliff right out in front of me. I'm just gonna trust the divine, and
look at this guy. Look at this guy. He's just chilling.
I know. He's got his heart wide open.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
And then we got the Three of Wands, which is all about receiving the manifestations of the seeds that we planted in the past. So this is starting to see the results of all the work that you've done. It's about looking out and then seeing that those ships are coming in and holding that vision and having faith that that everything is going exactly as planned, and just being present and grounded within that energy as well. Yeah. I'm just going to keep going with it.
Yeah. Just keep going. This is fucking beautiful energy, man.
I know. I'm loving this.
This is beautiful.
You never know, like, at least for me, like, I never know what's going to come out for Mercury Retrograde, so this is...
Yeah. It's a wild card.
It is.
Mercury, some people also refer to it as the trickster. It's that wild card energy. We never really know. It's like the human mind.
Yeah.
It's a mystery. Our own mind is even a mystery to us sometimes.
It is. That's why we need each other. And so we got the Ten of Wands in the Tower. So that actually goes hand in hand with this too, because this is all about the old thought forms, like the matrix system, the fear, the guilt, all of that. The codependency, the toxic relationships, anything like that. And the reason why I'm going into relationship communication and dynamics with this Mercury is because the first card was the Two of Cups. And I feel like that is what's going to be coming up a lot for a lot of people. But those things are falling away. But because the Sun card came out first, this is being illuminated. And it's like not one of those tower moments that's like... they all have a good purpose, obviously, because they're divinely guided. But I'm feeling like this tower moment, this release is going to be more of like a relief. Like more of like, oh, like I'm so glad that I don't feed into that energy anymore. Yeah. And being a little bit more detached from it, because tens are also completions. So this is about completing that cycle for good. and then holding space for that new energy to come in. So it's like staying in that space like that we kind of talked about, that 0 point energy.
Yep.
And allowing that positive energy to come in.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
I know. It's so beautiful. I love that. Yeah. All right, cool. So, I think we should do a goddess card.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Cassia just got these today.
It's a new deck.
Yeah. Ooh. Goddess Tower. Who are they by?
They are by Colette Baron Reed.
Nice.
Yes. Illustrated by Gina Della Brotaglia. Yes, absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous deck.
Yeah. Spirit, can we please have one goddess card or whatever you want to give us, as long as it's not too many. Like between 1 and 3 would
a
be
reasonable amount of goddess cards.
Right. White buffalo calf woman. Beautiful.
Ooh.
Reverence. You want to read it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. What's it, number 50?
Yeah. 50.
50?
Yeah. She looks a little mischievous. Look at her.
Oh, yeah, she does.
That's so great.
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing.
She looks very mischievous.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Says, now is the time to view your world through a lens of peace, harmony, and reconciliation. The domain of the Lakota goddess, White Buffalo Calf Woman. It's time to leave the right, wrong, good, bad, zero-sum game world behind and enter the space where you can find the sacred ground of sharing without guile and negotiating from a desire that everyone benefits. You will be so glad you did. Take a humble yet grounded approach to your life right now. Only good will come of it. The goddess White Buffalo Calf Woman supports this way of being in the world. And then the alignment message. Oh, is this? Yeah. We're going to read it.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Unconscious choices and behaviors may be causing a distortion in your world. Difficult feelings are part of the journey of self-discovery. You may have been conditioned to suppress what makes you uncomfortable in order to survive. You might have found yourself in a temporarily awkward place with someone and don't know what your next step should be. White Buffalo Calf Woman offers you this alignment task. Make the discomfort, awkwardness, and the uncomfortable sacred. Think of what would happen if you made what you considered a flaw, loss, or failure a beautiful, integral part of the art of your life. Every breath you take is sacred. Every mistake you make is a gift. And every time you learn from a relationship is blessed. Bless all parts of you and your life, for you are sacred, and White Buffalo Calf Woman wants you to be at peace.
That's really fitting because I like how it tied in the relationship dynamics about that. Because at first I was wondering why the Two of Cups was coming out, to be honest. And it does make sense because maybe like those patterns. So I feel like there may be someone that's going to be watching this that maybe there's a decision that needs to be made in regards to a relationship or something in regards to allowing like your light to shine, because sometimes there are certain situations or certain relationships where we're not able to share our light, or like we're in fear of sharing our light or letting that come out. And now is the time where we're really being asked to embrace our light, and it won't fail you. Spirit is here to support you. And now it's time to have blind faith and take that leap of faith. That's what the Fool is all about. It's about starting something new, going back to 0 point, and having a blank canvas and painting what you desire. Or sometimes Mercury Retrograde can be about going over the things that we've been manifesting. So it's like revising that and looking into that as well. But trusting what your heart really desires too. It's like go into your heart and trust that. And know that when these things fall away, you know, you are supported and you have the courage, and, you know, we are not separate from God. That you have the power within to move through any obstacles as well. So.
Yeah. And forgiveness. For some reason that word just popped into my mind.
Yeah.
You know, forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we do the best with what we've got at any given time.
We do.
And every relationship is a learning you know, it's a learning opportunity. And
yeah,
we don't know what we don't know. That's why we have to learn it.
Yeah.
So we have to forgive ourselves and for not knowing what we didn't know. And being grateful for the lessons that we did learn and for all of our teachers, because everybody who enters our life is a teacher.
Yeah. And allowing other people to have their own process too.
Yeah.
And knowing that people, like you were saying, are doing the best that they can with what they have. And sometimes the ego can jump right out just to, you know, confront those things. But then when we really step back and we honor their soul and we remind ourselves that they have their own patterns just as we do that we're working through, and then to have compassion and then honor that sacred energy, no matter how it may look on the outside, but knowing that every moment is sacred. This is sacred. This moment is sacred. The next moment is sacred. You know, this breath, every single moment that we have on this earth is so sacred and so beautiful, and it's such a gift. And just to be reminded of that is a gift.
Yes,
so
it definitely is.
Yeah.
It definitely is. And we can look at Mercury Retrograde as an opportunity to see things from that different perspective, to really, to have things revealed to us that maybe we didn't realize we felt or thought, and be able to have that time to just allow ourselves to view the world from a different perspective, to view situations, to get in touch with, you know, the higher meaning behind things. You know, Aquarius and Pisces are very much about that. You know, it's that more universal meaning of everything. Just looking at, like we were saying, the gift and the lesson in things, and really getting in touch with, like, how do I really feel?
Yeah.
You know, because our mind is melding with our feelings, so we can really get in touch with that, and Mercury Retrograde can really let us know how we feel about things. Not what we think about things, but how we feel about them. And we can then take that knowledge and that understanding and incorporate that when Mercury begins the process of going direct again.
Yeah. And
then sort of have that knowledge and what we experienced and understood about the deeper levels of our psyche during the retrograde phase and season, whatever you want to call it, and then proceed from there in a way that honors ourselves and everyone involved in whatever the situation is, or that we were thinking about, that we were reviewing.
Yeah. As you were saying that, I just received information or reminded about how Aquarius energy is very much like the Queen of Swords energy, the very detached. But the Pisces energy is like the opposite. It's like so emotionally attached that like doesn't want to let go. So it's like interesting how Mercury is going retrograde in that, because it's like, I don't know, I feel like it's showing us where we've been emotionally detached, and then where we've been, or where, and then where we need to detach.
Yeah. It's that, again, that balancing, that integrating, that, you know, where is that happy medium? You know, because it's not healthy to be completely detached from everything.
Yeah.
But we also can't sink completely into our feelings and just be engulfed by them and make all our decisions from that place either.
Especially if the emotions, which they're linked in with a lot of patterns of the mind.
Yep.
So if we're deeply entrenched in patterns that aren't serving us and our emotions are linked in with that, shit can get crazy real quick.
Yeah.
It's a no-go. No-go. Take a step back.
Yeah, we don't want to be living in that space, out of that space. No, yeah. It's, what am I don't know if I'm going to be able to vocalize this or not, but I'm thinking about that whole concept of the fact that, like emotions, the connection of emotions and thought patterns, and how emotions are mostly triggered by memories and stuff like that, and we get triggered into that memory, and then we get triggered into that pattern and that structure and those automatic, almost like muscle memory reactions and movements, and oh god, that's a lot.
It is, and that's what's going to be coming up too for a lot of this stuff, especially like like the cards were saying, like these are nice because it like focuses in on certain things, but like those links in like the sacral chakra in regards, because that's where all of our relationship dynamics are stored, is in the sacral chakra, where like the emotions are, that feminine creative energy. And it's so amazing because as that stuff's falling away, it's like this is coming in, all that like, actually I want to ask Spirit what's coming in for that. So Spirit, for the people that are going to be watching this, what is coming in for that energy, for that Three of Wands? Wow. Look at that.
Oh shit.
All right, so we got the Emperor and the Nine of Cups. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so it's pretty self-explanatory, at least for me, because I know how to read cards, but it's like the Emperor is the divine masculine energy. Let's just be honest here about it. It's like, and then this is the wish fulfillment card. So we're going to bring this inward, internally. And so what that means is what's coming in is a solid foundation in your own being. So the healing of your own divine masculine energy within, and the foundation that you've always wished for within yourself is going to be rooted in that energy. I mean, look at these cards. Like, feel the energy from those cards. It's just so powerful. This is all about claiming your power, sitting in your throne, and allowing yourself to receive everything that you know that you deserve. So it's like, and then like with this card, like in the beginning, like Spirit keeps drawing me back to it. Like once, it's just amazing because this is what happens. We talk about all these things and then they come out anyways, but it's like once those patterns are released and you're able to take that leap of faith, allow those patterns to fall through, like really be honest with yourself. And then this is about, seeing that stuff come in. What's coming in is this solid foundation in the physical and within, energetically and physically. So, yeah. It's pretty good.
That's it.
Yeah.
Empowerment. Yeah. All of that, being that force, that having that solid foundation in yourself.
Yeah.
That Emperor energy is that very cool, very calm, very collected, very much like, I know myself, I know what I want.
And he can't be shaken by outside things. It's like, he is like, and that's what we all want, really. Right. It's like we want to be able to not allow like our emotional like surges to just overtake us and dictate our lives, and then be like, oh, like I wish I didn't react that way, or whatever, like anything. But like the Emperor, he's able to like allow the chaos to just maybe like just look like he's just firm within his energy. And nothing can shake that because he knows who he is.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's true empowerment.
Yeah.
To be able to stand firm within yourself and not allow other energies to pull you out of who you know you are.
Mm.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yep. Amen. Yes. Yeah, I feel like that's a good conclusion for our Mercury retrograde. Again, if you have any questions or if you feel like you need some more guidance, I offer tarot readings. My email is below, and I kind of tailor it to what you need. I ask your higher self and my higher self to communicate with each other and channel through me and allow me to give you the messages that you need for your highest good. I can look into relationship dynamics, what's going on with work, anything that you really need specific guidance on. And then also I can look into your Akashic records and see where you're at a soul level in regards to your soul's evolution and your evolutionary process. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think Mercury retrograde is a really great time to get a tarot reading because there's so much coming up and coming at us. And, you know, it's also, as any time is, a great time to receive an energy healing and really help to, you know, all of this subconscious stuff is coming up. So to really help us gain some clarity around that stuff and release the things that are wanting to be released at this time and step into that level of empowerment where we become this emperor.
Yeah.
And really step into and own that energy. And it can definitely help with that. So please, my information is below as well. Reach out to either one of us if you're interested in services.
Yeah.
We are so glad that everyone tuned in for this video. So grateful for all of you. And just grateful that everyone will find this video when it's the perfect time for them. And it may not be Mercury retrograde is going to be going on for a few weeks. Yeah. But still, it may not even be Mercury retrograde when you find this video. But if you're resonating with what we're talking about right now, then that's perfect.
Yeah.
And that means that you are meant to see it exactly in the now moment that you are viewing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much. We love you so, so, so much.
Thank you.